If you're watching this video, you know the name Leica. The lens on my phone was designed by Leica. They made the first popular 35mm film camera. War photographers took Leicas into war zones. And of course, every film photography influencer out there salivates over the infamous and supposedly perfect Leica M6. It seems like everybody nowadays wants to get their hands on a Leica. But are they really as perfect as everyone wants to believe? Let's find out. This is the Leica M4-P, and just like in the last video, I want to make it clear that I unfortunately don't own this camera. I'm just borrowing it. As usual, the goal is to shoot one roll of black and white film and one roll of color film in this camera before returning it. Okay, so here we have the Leica MP4. Yeah, it's a pretty beautiful camera. Just holding it in the hand feels pretty nice. I've never actually shot a decent rangefinder camera before, so this is going to be a first, and I'm excited to see what it's like, considering the reputation of Leicas. Anyway, for the first roll in the camera, I'm going to go with Ilford Delta 3200. Now, I've actually heard that some people have trouble loading up Leica cameras. So just pull out like that much film, stick the tip in the other side, and like, that's it. And stick the bottom back on. And yeah, that's it. It's ready to shoot. Okay, so it's a pretty gloomy day out today, and pretty good conditions for Delta 3200, I feel. So, yeah, I'm gonna find somewhere to go to just take some pictures. We have arrived at an unspecified park location. I'm just gonna go around, take some pictures. I mean, there's not that much interesting subject matter here, but I just want to shoot some shots because I am really eager to use this camera. So, yeah. Now, in addition to the camera itself, I also got the opportunity to use several different lenses with it. The one I ended up using the most was the infamous 35mm Summicron, but I also got my hands on a 50mm Summarit and a 135mm Hector lens. These next two shots were taken with those lenses. For this next shot, got on the 135 here, which honestly makes the camera look a little ridiculous. And we're going to be taking a picture of this. My first impressions of this camera are that it feels really solid and compact in the hand. It's heavier than you'd expect, but not too heavy. The shutter sound is also really quiet, which when combined with the black finish on this camera makes it pretty much perfect for street photography, if that's your thing. Now, I've heard that the 35mm Summicron lens that I've been using on this camera is considered the king of bokeh. Like, you literally get videos about this lens if you search the phrase king of bokeh on YouTube. Although it's not the best example, this shot of the water droplets is kind of meant to be a test of the bokeh. And yeah, I'm not crazy about it personally, but the out of focus areas of images with a shallow depth of field look pleasant with this lens. With the black and white roll out of the way, I decided to load a roll of Portra 800 into the camera to see how well it handles color film. So far, the build quality of this is amazing, obviously, but I'm having a really hard time composing shots that I'm like happy with it. I guess just because I'm not used to a rangefinder. It's hard to envision exactly what the picture is going to be when you can't see it. You kind of have to interpret what it's going to be based off of a very close reference. I know a lot of what I'm saying is probably just par for the course or not special, especially if you're experienced shooting with a rangefinder. But for me, as someone who shoots a lot with SLRs, this is a pretty big adjustment. But yeah, I mean, I'm still having fun. Now, even though I just said I was struggling to get photos I liked with this camera, I don't actually think that's true. It just took a bit of time for these photos to grow on me, which is something that has nothing to do with the camera and everything to do with my own relationship with my work. But that's a topic for another day. Alright, so it is very windy outside today. It's also very sunny. My window is being sprayed with ocean right now. What would be really cool is if I caught a wave breaking. There's like a seawall kind of, and they're hitting the wall and like spraying up. And if I could catch, like the sun is so perfect right now, and if I could catch a wave just exploding in front of the camera on the Leica, that would be amazing. And that's the end of the color roll. Now that I've shot a few rolls in a Leica, what are my thoughts? Well, just like everyone says, Leicas are fantastic cameras. But does using a camera that's expensive and feels nice in the hand lead to better photos? Well, I think at the end of the day, the main thing that you're paying for when you buy a Leica, besides the brand name, is its reliability. I own at least one camera that performs terribly at high shutter speeds, like 1/1000th of a second. In this example, taken with the Pentax MX, you can see a pretty clear gradient across the frame caused by a faulty shutter. But practically speaking, this Leica is a perfectly tuned machine that performs consistently at every shutter speed. I was shooting at 1/1000th of a second for a lot of these photos since I was using pretty high ISO film, and they've all turned out great. So from a technical side, yes, this camera will give you fantastic photos. From a more emotional side, I did actually feel encouraged to go out and shoot more with it because of how satisfying it is to use. Leicas just feel great to load and shoot with. But if I actually owned this camera, I imagine that desire would fade after a few months as I got used to using it. So if you want a Leica just because people say it feels nice to use, you probably shouldn't get one. Most film cameras feel pretty satisfying to use anyway and don't cost thousands of dollars. But if you're a professional photographer looking for a camera that will not fail you in the field, there really aren't that many choices better than a Leica. That's about everything from me. Thanks for watching, everybody.